At 6:14 in the morning on day 58 of the war, USS Abraham Lincoln and USS George H.W. Bush are both in transit. Not in formation, not with their defensive geometries aligned and their destroyer screens overlapping and their combat air patrols covering each other's sectors. In transit, moving between positions, the Abraham Lincoln shifting 17 nautical miles northeast to establish a new blockade enforcement anchor point. The George H.W. Bush shifting 14 nautical miles southwest to take the Abraham Lincoln's old position. Two carriers moving in opposite directions simultaneously. Two carriers whose destroyer screens are temporarily oriented toward their destinations rather than toward each other. Two carriers whose combat air patrol sectors are covering their new positions rather than the corridor between them. The corridor between them, 19 nautical miles of open water between two of the most powerful warships in the world during the 11 minutes when neither carrier's defensive geometry is fully optimized for the space between them. 11 minutes. The repositioning had been scheduled at 5:44 in the morning and a formation coordination message transmitted between the two carriers and their escort vessels. A routine administrative transmission, encrypted, sent on a frequency used exclusively for carrier strike group internal coordination. A frequency that had been compromised 14 hours earlier when a software update pushed to 3 of the escort destroyers introduced a legacy encryption protocol vulnerability that downgraded one specific transmission type from AS-256 to a 2019 generation cipher that Iranian signals intelligence had broken in January of this year. The repositioning schedule transmitted at 5:44 in the morning was not encrypted the way the formation believed it was. In the signals intelligence suite aboard USS Abraham Lincoln, Lieutenant Commander Salai noticed the encryption downgrade at 5:47 in the morning. 3 minutes after the transmission, she filed a report at 5:51. She filed a second at 6:01. She filed a third at 6:08. All three came back the same way, logged and noted. The encryption vulnerability is being assessed by the communications security team. The repositioning will proceed as scheduled. At 6:09 in the morning, the two carriers begin their transit. At 6:11 in the morning, 31 IRGC fast attack craft leave their moorings simultaneously from 3 Iranian ports. Bandar Abbas to the north, Keshem Island to the northwest, Abu Musa Island to the west. 11 boats from each port, 3 separate formations, 3 separate approach vectors, all of them moving at 55 knots, all of them aimed at the same coordinate. The midpoint of the corridor between USS Abraham Lincoln and USS George H.W. Bush, the coordinate that the repositioning schedule transmitted at 5:44 in the morning, had told them both carriers would be passing through at 6:22 in the morning. Not targeting one carrier, targeting the moment when both carriers would be closest to each other and furthest from their respective defensive formations. The most precisely targeted IRGC swarm attack of the entire war, built around a schedule that was supposed to be encrypted, that was not encrypted the way anyone believed it was, that Iran had been reading for 14 hours. In 8 minutes and 14 seconds, everything in the Strait of Hormuz will have changed. To understand what Iran has built at 6:11 in the morning, you need to understand what the corridor between two carriers in transit actually looks like from a targeting perspective. Because two carriers repositioning is not two carriers at full defensive strength. It is two carriers with their destroyer screens oriented toward their destinations. USS Farragut and USS Forrest Sherman are escorting the George H.W. Bush southwest. USS Gonzalez and USS Bulkeley are escorting the Abraham Lincoln northeast. For destroyers, all 4 oriented toward their respective carriers' new positions. All 4 with their defensive sensor coverage optimized for threats from outside the formation rather than from the corridor between the two carriers that is temporarily less covered than any other piece of water in the strait. The combat air patrols from both carriers are covering their new positions. The E-2D Hawkeye from the Abraham Lincoln is orbiting over the new anchor point 17 nautical miles northeast. The E-2D Hawkeye from the George H.W. Bush is orbiting over the old position 14 nautical miles southwest. Neither Hawkeye is optimized for the corridor between them, 19 nautical miles of water between two carriers. For destroyers all pointing the wrong way, 2 Hawkeyes both looking somewhere else. Iran did not need satellite imagery to find this window. They needed one transmission at 5:44 in the morning on a frequency their signals intelligence had been reading since January. The transmission told them the window would exist, told them exactly where it would be, told them exactly when it would open, and it told them it would last 11 minutes. 11 minutes is enough time for 31 fast attack craft at 55 knots to cover the approach distance from 3 Iranian ports to the midpoint of that corridor. Iran did not create this vulnerability. The software update created it. Iran found it 14 hours ago and spent 14 hours building an attack around it. 31 boats, 3 formations, 1 11-minute window, the most precisely timed IRGC operation of the war. Built on a schedule the formation believed was secure and was not. 6:14 in the morning. USS Abraham Lincoln. The corridor. Salai does not wait for her 4th report to come back. She has been watching the 3 Iranian port departure patterns on her passive sensor display since 6:11 in the morning when the first fast attack craft signatures appeared simultaneously from Bandar Abbas, Keshem Island, and Abu Musa Island. She has the bearing. She has the speed. She has the geometry. She understands in 11 seconds what the 31 simultaneous departures mean and where they are going and why they are timed to 6:22 in the morning. She picks up the formation circuit at 6:14 and 9 seconds. Not the watch officer circuit. Not the combat information center circuit. The formation-wide circuit that reaches every ship simultaneously. All formation units, this is Lincoln EW. 31 fast attack contacts departing 3 Iranian ports simultaneously, bearings 019, 271, and 247. Approach geometry converges on the intercarrier corridor at 6:22. This is a corridor attack, not a single carrier attack. The repositioning schedule was transmitted on a compromised encryption protocol at 5:44. Iran has the schedule. They built this around it. All units weapons-free, surface engagement. Lincoln and Bush maintain maximum speed through the corridor. Do not slow down. Get through the window. In the Combat Information Center, Tactical Action Officer Commander David Okafor looks at his display for 2 seconds. 31 contacts, 3 bearings, all converging on 1 coordinate. The coordinate both carriers will be passing through in 8 minutes. He picks up the circuit to Rear Admiral Callaway. Sir, EW has 31 surface contacts converging on the intercarrier corridor at 6:22. I need you in CIC now. Callaway is in the Combat Information Center in 31 seconds. He reads the picture in 4 seconds. He picks up the formation circuit immediately. All strike group units, this is Lincoln Actual. Confirm 31 contacts, 3-axis converging corridor. All escort units split engagement. Gonzalez and Bulkley take northern and western sectors. Farragut and Forrest Sherman take northwestern sector. Both carriers maintain current speed through corridor. We are not stopping in that window. He does not pause. Lincoln CAP redirect to corridor coverage immediately. Both E2D Hawkeyes reorient to corridor. Get me eyes on that water right now. 6:14 in the morning. Northern sector. USS Gonzalez. 11 contacts bearing 019. Range 7.9 nautical miles. Commander Elena Park has the northern contacts before Callaway finishes his transmission. She has been building her engagement plan since 6:11 in the morning when Salai's passive sensors first showed the Bandar Abbas departures. 3 minutes of engagement planning before the formation even knew what it was looking at. ESSM salvo at 6:14 and 19 seconds. For missiles against the 4 lead contacts in the northern formation. 3 kills, 1 miss. The surviving lead contact executes an evasive turn at 55 knots and continues inbound. Park shifts to the second tier. 3 more ESSMs. 2 kills. 1 partial hit. The partially hit craft loses propulsion at 31 knots. Still inbound. 5 contacts remaining in the northern sector. All still moving. -45 Malawian Quach's gun at 6:15 and 31 seconds. First round, hit, stops. Second round, hit, stops. Third round, miss. Sea state rougher than the fire control solution assumed. Fourth round, hit, stops. 3 gun kills in 28 seconds. 2 contacts remaining in the northern sector, both inside 4.1 nautical miles, both at 55 knots. 3 minutes and 44 seconds from the corridor midpoint. USS Bulkley takes the western sector simultaneously. Commander Webb has 11 contacts at bearing 271. ESSM Salvo at 6:14 and 22 seconds. 3 kills. 2 misses. Gunfire at 6:15 and 44 seconds. 2 kills in 19 seconds. 6 contacts remaining in the western sector. The western approach geometry is degraded. The fire control solutions are building against vectors the formation's defensive planning has never pre-calculated, because the western sector of the intercarrier corridor has never been a threat axis in any previous engagement. The solutions are slower than the northern sector. The contacts are faster than the solutions. Webb authorizes the phalanx at 6:16 and 11 seconds against the 3 lead surviving western contacts inside 3.9 nautical miles. 3 burst sequences. 2 kills. 1 miss. The surviving contact executes an evasive turn. The phalanx reacquires in 0.7 seconds. 2 more bursts. Hit. Stopped. 3 contacts remaining in the western sector. All 3 inside 3.2 nautical miles. 3 minutes and 2 seconds from the corridor midpoint. 6:14 in the morning. Northwestern sector. USS Farragut and USS Forrest Sherman. 11 contacts bearing 247. Range 8.4 nautical miles. The northwestern sector is the worst geometry in the engagement. Bearing 247 splits the difference between the George H.W. Bush's current position and the Abraham Lincoln's current position. The contacts from bearing 247 are not targeting one carrier. They are targeting the corridor midpoint where both carriers will be simultaneously at 6:22. The 2 destroyers escorting the George H.W. Bush are 6.1 nautical miles from the northwestern contacts, closer than any other defensive asset to the most dangerous approach vector. USS Farragut takes the lead. ESSM Salvo at 6:14 and 17 seconds. For missiles, 3 kills, 1 miss. USS Forrest Sherman supports with 2 additional ESSMs on the surviving contact and the next tier. 2 more kills. For contacts remaining in the northwestern sector. Gunfire from both destroyers simultaneously at 6:15 and 44 seconds. Farragut's -45 Malawian Quaches takes the lead 2 contacts. Forrest Sherman's -45 Malawian Quaches takes the trailing 2. 3 kills in 33 seconds of coordinated gunfire. 1 contact remaining in the northwestern sector. Inside 3.8 nautical miles. 55 knots. 3 minutes and 26 seconds from the corridor midpoint. The phalanx systems on both destroyers activate simultaneously on the surviving contact at 6:16 and 19 seconds. Farragut fires first. 3 bursts. The first 2 miss. The contact is executing continuous evasive turns at 55 knots. The 3rd burst finds the steering system. The contact loses directional control. It continues moving at 55 knots but in a circle. It is no longer tracking the corridor midpoint. It is running in circles 2.9 nautical miles from the nearest carrier, trailing smoke. The northwestern sector is effectively clear at 6:16 and 44 seconds. 6:16 in the morning. Corridor midpoint, 6:22 minus 6 minutes. Park looks at her northern sector display. 2 contacts remaining inside 3.1 nautical miles, both at 55 knots. 2 minutes and 50 seconds from the corridor midpoint. Her ESSM inventory is running low. The northern sector's engagement rate has been higher than projected because the sea state is degrading gunfire accuracy. She has enough for 1 more salvo. She fires at 6:16 and 51 seconds. 2 missiles, both contacts, 1 kill, 1 miss. 1 contact remaining in the northern sector, inside 2.4 nautical miles, 55 knots, 2 minutes and 36 seconds. The -45 Malawian Quaches is tracking. First round at 6:17 and 4 seconds. Miss. Second round, miss. Third round, hit. The contact loses propulsion. It coasts inbound at 12 knots, trailing fire and smoke. Coasting at 12 knots from 2.1 nautical miles is 11 minutes from the corridor midpoint. The corridor will be clear of both carriers in 4 minutes. The coasting contact will not reach the midpoint before both carriers are through. Northern sector contained. Webb looks at her western sector display. 3 contacts still inside 2.8 nautical miles. All 3 at 55 knots. 2 minutes and 31 seconds from the corridor midpoint. She has ESSM inventory. She fires. 3 missiles. 3 contacts. 2 kills. 1 miss. The surviving western contact is inside 1.9 nautical miles. 2 minutes and 3 seconds. The phalanx activates on the surviving western contact at 6:17 and 11 seconds. Range 1.7 nautical miles. For burst sequences, the first 3 miss. The contact is executing maximum rate evasive maneuvers at 55 knots at close range. The 4th burst finds the engine section at 0.9 nautical miles. The contact stops dead in the water. Western sector clear at 6:17 and 31 seconds. In the corridor midpoint, USS Abraham Lincoln and USS George H.W. Bush pass each other at 6:19 and 44 seconds, both at maximum speed, both fully operational. 19 nautical miles of open water that Iran had calculated both carriers would be occupying at 6:22 in the morning. The carriers cleared the midpoint at 6:19 and 44 seconds, 2 minutes and 16 seconds before the attack geometry converged on that coordinate. The decision to maintain maximum speed through the corridor rather than slow down or hold position bought 2 minutes and 16 seconds of margin. Callaway's decision at 6:14 and 19 seconds to push through the window rather than fight from a static posture inside it. 2 minutes and 16 seconds. The difference between both carriers clearing the window and both carriers being in the window when the attack arrived. When the surviving fast attack craft reached the corridor midpoint at 6:22 and 1 second, for surviving craft from 3 different sectors converge on the coordinate where both carriers were supposed to be at 6:22 in the morning. The coordinate the repositioning schedule had told Iran both carriers would be passing through simultaneously. Both carriers are not there. The coordinate is empty ocean. For fast attack craft at 55 knots arriving at a position containing nothing but open water. They hold position for 11 seconds. Then they turn north toward Iranian coastal waters. Running, not fighting. The corridor is clear at 6:22 and 14 seconds. 31 IRGC fast attack craft. 27 destroyed or stopped. For running north, none reached either carrier. The intercarrier corridor that Iran spent 14 hours building an attack around is empty. Both carriers are through. Both blockade positions are established. The repositioning is complete. In the Combat Information Center, Callaway looks at his tactical display for 7 seconds. 31 contacts at 6:11. For contacts running north at 6:22. 8 minutes and 14 seconds of 4 destroyers fighting 3 simultaneous engagements while both carriers maintained maximum speed through the most exposed window of the entire transit. He picks up the circuit to Salai. Lieutenant Commander Salai, your transmission at 6:14 and 9 seconds. Walk me through what you had. Salai looks at her display. The encryption vulnerability she identified at 5:47. The 3 reports that came back logged and noted. The 3 simultaneous port departures at 6:11 that told her in 11 seconds what they meant and where they were going and why they were timed to 6:22. The formation circuit transmission she sent at 6:14 and 9 seconds without going through the watch officer or the Combat Information Center because there was no time to go through anyone. Sir, the repositioning schedule transmitted at 5:44 was sent on a compromised encryption protocol. ES-256 downgraded to a 2019 generation cipher by the software update on 3 escort destroyers. I identified the downgrade at 5:47 and filed 3 reports beginning at 5:51. All 3 came back logged and noted. I kept watching because the transmission content included the corridor midpoint coordinate and the 6:22 timing, and I understood that if Iranian signals intelligence had been reading that cipher since January, they had the schedule. When I saw 31 simultaneous departures from 3 ports at 6:11, time to arrive at the corridor midpoint at 6:22, I transmitted on the formation circuit directly. There was no time for another report. Callaway is quiet for 6 seconds. Your 3 reports were logged and noted. Yes, sir. All 3. He does not respond to that for a moment. A moment that contains 14 hours of a compromised transmission sitting in Iranian signals intelligence databases and 3 reports sitting in a log queue and 1 lieutenant commander watching port departure patterns at 6:11 in the morning and understanding in 11 seconds what 31 simultaneous departures meant. He picks up the communications security circuit. Then he picks up the strike authorization circuit. The software update that introduced the encryption vulnerability had been pushed to 3 escort destroyers from a Naval Information Warfare Center server at 3:19 in the morning. The server's access log showed a routine automated update. The update package had been modified. The modification was 14 characters. 14 characters in a 2.3 gigabyte update package. The investigation that followed identified the modification's origin at 4:44 in the morning. For hours before the attack, 2 hours before the repositioning schedule was transmitted. Iran did not find the encryption vulnerability. Iran created it. 14 characters in a software update pushed through a compromised Naval Information Warfare Center server at 3:19 in the morning, creating a cipher downgrade that would apply to exactly 1 transmission type. The transmission type used for carrier strike group formation coordination messages. The transmission type that would carry the repositioning schedule at 5:44 in the morning. Iran built the cipher downgrade before the repositioning was even scheduled because they knew the repositioning was coming. Because 3 carriers in a blockade formation require constant repositioning to maintain coverage. Because a software update pushed at 3:19 in the morning to 3 escort destroyers would be logged as routine and would not be investigated until after the attack. 14 characters. 1 transmission type, 1 11-minute window, 31 boats. The most precisely engineered attack Iran had attempted in 58 days of war. It failed not because the cipher held. The cipher did not hold. It failed because a lieutenant commander noticed the downgrade 3 minutes after the compromised transmission and filed 3 reports and kept watching port departure patterns anyway and transmitted on the formation circuit at 6:14 and 9 seconds. And because a rear admiral read the picture in 4 seconds and understood that the window was the danger and the way through danger is through it, not around it. 2 decisions made within 10 seconds of each other. The first by a lieutenant commander whose reports had come back logged and noted. The second by a rear admiral who understood that stopping inside an 11-minute kill window is not a defensive posture. It is a target. Iran spent 14 hours engineering a vulnerability into the formation's own communication system. They spent 11 minutes watching both carriers clear the window they had built the attack around. The corridor is empty. The carriers are through. The blockade holds. And somewhere in the Naval Information Warfare Center, a forensic team is looking at 14 characters in a 2.3 gigabyte software update, trying to understand how something that small built something that large. 14 characters. The same number of characters as the authentication code Salah used to destroy the intelligence data on the MV Cascade 3 days ago. Iran understands something about the mathematics of decisive action that 14 characters keeps proving. That the smallest precise intervention at exactly the right moment changes everything. On day 58 of the war, both sides learned the same lesson from opposite directions. Iran learned it from 14 characters in a software update that opened a window that closed 2 minutes and 16 seconds too early. America learned it from 14 characters transmitted on a formation-wide circuit at 6:14 and 9 seconds by a lieutenant commander whose 3 reports came back logged and noted and who transmitted anyway because 31 boats were already moving and logged and noted was not going to stop them.